Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. Rebranding it today, calling it Kicking It Back with Matt because it's just me in here today. The show's going to be different here. Normally, we're talking about daily sports every day, but since past couple of shows, we've just talked about NHL, MLB, draft talk, free agency, all that, and we talked about you know, March Madness a lot as well, and even the Frozen Four. We even threw bull riding in there. So today is going to be a special show. It's going to be based on my top 10s of everything. So I have like top 10, greatest sports history moments. I have top 10 sports movies, and I have top 10 biggest busts of all time. And then whatever we need to fill time with, we will. I'll just talk about whatever I feel like. It could be sports. I could be talking about food, anything. So if you want to come in and sit down and watch me just ramble about random stuff today, come on in and grab some popcorn because it's going to be something today. So I may throw more sports in. I may talk about something else. I may talk about favorite candy. I don't care. It's my show. I'm going to talk about whatever I want. But here we go. So we're going to start out with top 10 sports history moments. Coming in here at number 10, it's got to be Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier for baseball. I just feel like you got to include that. That was April 15th, 1947. Officially ended segregation in baseball. And like you've seen, obviously they made the movie 42 about it. And, that movie really shows a great depiction of, what happened and stuff like, all the stuff he had to go through. And he still just came out and did the best he could, whatever he was facing. And it was absolutely amazing. And, obviously I wasn't alive. I think my great grandma was probably in her 20s at the time. Yeah, something like that, in her 20s. So that's just cool that, the players around him brought him in to made him feel, it took a while for him to get in, but once he started producing it and stuff, they were like, all right. So, it was very, sentimental to put this in here. Just because of that. Coming in at number 9, it's got to be the Rumble in the Jungle. And if I got boxing fans watching this, you got to know the Rumble in the Jungle. You got Muhammad Ali knocks out George Foreman. Ali was a major underdog to Foreman, who was known for his punching power, and Ali used the famous rope-a-dope technique to tired Foreman. He took everything Foreman had, and when Foreman was just completely out of breath, here comes Ali and just takes him down. Ali, he didn't box for a while, so coming into this was just a huge underdog coming in and trying to win this match. Foreman was around for a little bit, and he hit hard. Like, I've seen videos. Like, you should see the punching bags he left dents in. Like, there's dents on each side. I felt like the thing was just gonna bust open. The guy could hit. Believe me that. I bet you Ali could have told you that as well. But I have a couple of boxing things in here as well. But moving on here, what's come in at number 8? So I like this. Joe Carter, he played for the Indians, or formerly the Indians, now the Guardians, and he moved on and played for Toronto. And he had a walk-off home run in the 1993 World Series. It was a 2-2 blast-off. It was unbelievable. Phillies pitcher Mitch Williams, he gave the Jays back-to-back World Series titles, and it's one of the best, to go down in the books. So that's who he hit it off, Mitch Williams, the Phillies pitcher. So it was pretty sweet for him to see that. I think that the announcer, what would that announcer say? Let me see. But yeah, probably one of the best calls. He was like, "Touch them all, Joe." Like it was pretty sweet. So I had to throw that one in there, and I like Joe Carter. I think I have a couple Joe Carter cards laying around here. Played for Cleveland as well. My dad, loved him for Cleveland. I think he had an old jersey laying in his room somewhere with Joe Carter for Cleveland. So that was sweet for him to do that. But let's move on here. I'll try to fill some time with most of these, but. This one, it's kind of in my day. This is when I really first started watching hockey, and everybody knows that I'm a diehard Pittsburgh Penguins fan. Like whoever watches this show, and Mike and Alec both know I love Pittsburgh. I love the Penguins, but I really like Patrick Kane, who plays for the Chicago Blackhawks, and his overtime goal in the 2010 Stanley Cup Finals. It was known as the Phantom goal because Kane was the only one to know that it went in at first. Even like the commentators were caught off guard. And after they're like, "Whoa, what happened?" They went to the replay and it clearly showed the puck going into the goal. This ended the Blackhawks' 49-year drought of winning a Stanley Cup. So that was a huge thing. You can watch it countless times at fast speed. You won't know that it went in. Even the goaltender was like, "What? What?" And he turned around and saw it in. Commentators didn't know. Referees didn't know. The only one that really knew was Patrick Kane because he started cheering. Commentators like, "Whoa, whoa, Kane's cheering. It must have went in." But it did. He knew it. So that was something. Yeah, I've got the first time I was about 10 years old when this happened. I remember this happened. This is really when I started to get into hockey more, and then I started. The year before the Penguins won the Stanley Cup. That's really when I got it in, and then that's when I started liking Chicago because of Patrick Kane and this whole play. I was 10 years old. So, but coming in, let's move on to number 6 here. How about this? And I just watched the movie about this. What was it? The American Underdog with Kurt Warner. This was Titans coming up 1 yard short in Super Bowl 34. Rams Mike Jones tackled Titans Kevin Dyson just 1 yard short of the goal line, securing the Rams 23-16 Super Bowl victory. And this was huge. Greatest show on turf. Kurt Warner coming in, probably one of the biggest rags to riches history. The guy was stocking Hy-Vee shelves, and then 5 years later, he's in the NFL and winning a Super Bowl. He wasn't even supposed to be here, but luckily the Rams gave him that shot. And then I watched that movie just a couple of days ago. What a heck of a movie! If you haven't seen that movie, go out there and watch this movie. It's a great movie. But the Titans had a pretty good run. Now I could talk about this for a little bit. They had a pretty good team. Of course, Kevin Dyson was a heck of a player, and then Steve McNair was their quarterback, and Steve McNair was a heck of a. He was farm tough. Like he went to Alcorn State. The guy had an arm like you wouldn't believe, and he could truck some people as well. So with Dyson and Steve McNair, this team was a pretty good team. And then you had, oh man, 1 second. Just gotta look something up real quick. Yeah, then you had, Eddie George was back there as well. Yes, I forgot his name for a second, but give me a break. It's been a rough week. But Eddie George was a truck to, Ohio State. So, they had a team, and I don't think they shouldn't even have been there. They got there, they won the wild card round with against Buffalo and the whole Music City Miracle, but I still believe it was a forward pass. A lot of people could argue with me. A lot of people agree with me. I am a Buffalo fan. Buffalo is one of my teams. So, I thought it was a forward pass, but that game would have been so different if they would have put Doug Flutie in instead of Rob Johnson. They probably would have won by more. So, but it happens at sports. So it was still a heck of a Super Bowl. In my opinion, probably one of the best Super Bowls out there. So, but moving on here, what's going on? We'll move into number 5. This is just Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods completes the Tiger Slam in 2001, and I'm going to tie in the 2019 Masters as well into this too. But with that 2001, he became the first person to win 4 consecutive golf championships. He won the U.S. Open, he won the Open Championship, the PGA Championship, and the Masters in 2001. So that's just unbelievable that he did that. Then you throw in that, the 2019 Masters, he didn't play golf for a while, came back the year before, but then he really bounced back in 2019. Yes, he had a bunch of back problems, but to get that one more Masters. It was kind of like a cowboy riding off into the sunset per se. So that was really great. My story of that though, I was at Game 3 of the first round of these Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Pens were down. I believe this was Game 4. It was Game 3. They were down 2-0 in the series. They needed to win the game, but they were just getting killed. They ended up getting swept in that series, I believe. And I think the game was like they were down by a couple goals, and it was getting ready to end. So I put the Masters on my phone, and this stadium was dead silent because the Pens were losing. And my dad and I started up cheering and hooting and hollering. And they're like, "What? Why? What happened?" And we were like, "Oh, Tiger won the Masters!" So it was pretty sweet. So you got to watch Tiger win the Masters inside the PPG Paints Arena on my phone. So that was pretty cool to see that. I had to see it. So I played golf in high school. Tiger Woods was a huge inspiration for me to be like, hey, I want to be like Tiger Woods. Who doesn't want to be like Tiger Woods? So that had to be something. But let's move on here. I got another fight on here. Number 4, fight of the century. Muhammad Ali and Frasier faced off for the first time. They end up facing, I believe, that 3 times, and Ali won the next 2. But this one, Frasier did get him. It was a heavyweight championship bout between the 2 undefeated fighters. Frasier won by unanimous decision after knocking Ali down in the 14th round. Yes, back in the day, they fought 15 rounds, not 12 rounds. But Muhammad Ali, the huge thing, he lost his license, and he finally got it back, and because he was dodging the draft, so he lost his license, and he finally came back and got a fight. And Frasier, who's been boxing for a while, really gave it to him. But it was really that Foreman fight where Ali came back, and by the time Frasier went up and fought him again, Ali was back, settled in. So it was pretty much this first fight that really meant something. But Joe Frazier, I still consider one of the best boxers of all time. Actually, he's from Philadelphia. I was in Philadelphia, a couple of weeks ago during spring break, and they have right outside there's a huge like restaurant bar that's right in the middle of all the stadiums in Philly, like the Eagles, the Phillies, and the Flyers, and the Sixers as well. Sixers and Flyers share that Wells Fargo Center. But they're outside of this, restaurant, there's this huge statue of Joe Frazier. And of course, I had to get my picture with it. A lot of people consider him to be, one of the real versions of Rocky. Usually people refer to Chuck Wepner, but they also refer to Joe Frazier because, he lived in Philadelphia for all those years. And he was actually in Rocky. So, that was something there. But to see that, like, we were driving. The funny thing is, we were driving past, and I saw a statue. I'm like, who is that? Who is that? I made my aunt drive past a couple of times to see who it was, and then I finally saw clear enough. It said Joe Frazier, so it was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool experience to see that. But let's move on here. Coming in, final 3 here. Number 3. All right, I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, and I do have a story with this as well. Number 3, the shot. It has to be the shot. Michael Jordan's buzzer beater shot over Craig Elo to defeat the Cavs and eliminate them in the playoffs. Believe me, I've seen the Believeland documentaries. I really know. Like, this had to hurt. My dad was a huge Cavs fan back in the day, and he actually had tickets to go to this game, but I guess they ended up being for a different game. They got the wrong tickets, but he actually went in for an hour or so. They bound seats for an hour, but this was like a packed house. So, but that's my little story. But the Cavs probably would have had possibly a NBA championship at least once or twice. if Michael Jordan didn't play in the NBA. So I mean, I think there was that one that was like 1989, and then in 1992 they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals to Michael and the Bulls. So, but I had to throw this one in. Michael Jordan, obviously one of the greatest of all time. I almost made a greatest of all time list, but I didn't want to get into a huge this argument with myself. I think I need somebody else on here with me to argue against me. Like, is LeBron the best or is Michael the best? I don't know. I just feel it wouldn't be fair if I was just on here. So let's keep it simple, top tens. But moving on here, let's go number 2. Even though I'm not really the biggest fan of him after he burned my favorite team twice, LeBron James. I mean, you left them, not once but twice now. But he did bring them their first NBA championship, first championship in Cleveland in 52 years, and the fact that he brought them back from being down 3-1 to the Golden State Warriors, and this was a 73-9 Golden State Warriors. They just broke the Bulls 72-10 record for the best overall regular season record. So to come in, you're facing Curry, Iguodala, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and you're down 3-1, and to come all the way back against this dominant team, it was just amazing, And I credit LeBron with that, but I also Kevin Love was a heck of a player in that. J.R. Smith was key as well, and of course Kyrie Irving hitting that huge shot, just unbelievable. So I can remember I watched all the games in that series. I didn't care. I was gonna watch it because the Cavs were in it. But I was sitting there, Game 7, watching it, and I'm just crying and sobbing that we finally won a championship. And we almost had 2 in the same year, and I was crying in because coincidentally the Cleveland Indians were up 3-1 against the Cubs and then ended up blowing a 3-1 lead to the Cubs. So that I guess it was karma or something. I don't know. It was bad, but at least we did get one. But let's move on here. Let's move into number 1. It's got to be Miracle on Ice, plain and simple. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, I always believe in miracles. That was Al Michaels' iconic call as the U.S. Olympic hockey team defeated the heavily favored Soviets to win the gold medal in the 1980 Olympics, which was in Lake Placid, New York. And I actually drove through New York, and we were actually pretty close to Lake Placid to, kind of see where the games were. A while ago, I forget exactly when. I was a little bit younger, but that's number 1. Yeah, I mean, I've seen the movie Miracle, probably one of the best movies. Actually, we'll be talking about that next year because I have the top 10 sports movies coming up here. We're about 20 minutes into the show, so let's go ahead and move on. Top 10 sports movies, okay? And these are my top 10, okay? So I don't care what anybody else says. This is what I think are the best movies in sports. I do have some honorable mentions in here as well. Let's see. Yeah, I bet you. Yeah, I mean, the Cubs 3-1 comeback against the Tribe. That's definitely an honorable mention. I kind of whipped this list together. I mean, it's on there. It's on there up here at least. It's definitely an honorable mention. But let's move on here. That's actually Alec commenting. So he's still getting involved with the show. I'm sure he's going to love my top 10 sports movies. Alec, Hoosiers is on this list, and I don't care what you think. But coming in at number 10, you like this movie there, Ricky Vaughn. Major League coming in at number 10. I love this movie. So, I mean, it pretty much shows the only time Cleveland winning. Well, at least, when I first saw it, yeah, I know you think Hoosiers is overrated, but I like it. But number 10 here, Major League. You can't think Major League is overrated because you're wearing that. I mean, you've worn that Ricky Vaughn jersey. So, but this movie at the time when I first saw it, Cleveland didn't win anything, and in this movie it showed them winning, and it's awesome, and it's funny as heck too. It's so funny. So, had to throw that in there. Major League came out in 1989. Some big actors in it. Charlie Sheen is in it. Tom Berenger's in it. You got a young Wesley Snipes. Yeah, give him the year, Ricky. Yeah. Wesley Snipes, a very young Wesley Snipes. A lot of people forget Wesley Snipes was in the first major league. Like, that's just insane. But yeah, famous lines. Give me here, Ricky. I think I've used that so many times during calls. So I've referenced that movie many times as well. Bob Uecker, playing, what was his name, Bob Doyle or something like that in the movie. But just a bit outside. Yeah, every broadcaster, at least the young ones like us, I mean, you almost have to quote this movie during the broadcast. It's almost a given, especially in baseball. So, but number 9 here, kind of just had to throw this in here. Rudy. I like Rudy. It's a pretty good movie, even though he was offsides in that movie. But the whole story of it, it's an underdog story, and I like it. I mean, but the whole time when I was watching that movie, like, I just realized this. He's going to Notre Dame. Like, he's from a blue collar, household. They don't have money. How is he paying for all of this? How is he paying to go to Holy Cross, and how is he paying to go to Notre Dame for 1 year? How is he doing that? I have no idea. Like, I know he was working as a maintenance man, but Notre Dame is a pretty expensive school. Did he save up all that money just from doing that? Because I don't know. That's an honest question there. How did he afford that? So, because he wasn't on scholarships, the guy was on, practice squad pretty much the whole time for playing for Notre Dame, and they gave him that one last game. They gave him that one game he played in. But let's move on to number 8 here. I got The Fighter. I mean, Mark Wahlberg, Christian Bale, Amy Adams in this movie. Heck of a good movie. I like it. Good boxing movie. I like my boxing movies. Of course, you see that back there. So, but it's a pretty good movie. It's based on a true story. Mickey Ward, from Lowell, Massachusetts. Wasn't really the best at first, but ended up getting some pretty good wins from that movie. I think he had a lot of fights with he had a 3 main event fight with Gotti, and Gotti was a heck of a boxer. So I had to throw that in there at number 8. Number 7, you're gonna see Kevin Costner a lot in this, but actually, when you think Kevin Costner, you think baseball, and I do have some of his baseball movies in here. But this one is a golf movie, Tin Cup. But one of my favorite golf movies. Yeah, Kevin Costner is in it. You have Don Johnson in it too, and you have Cheech Marin in it. And so he's a golfer, obviously, and his nickname's Tin Cup. I guess the story's like a former, golf or former college standout. Now owns a driving range, and he goes from being a caddy to pretty much nobody, almost winning the U.S. Open. So it's pretty good movie. Check that out. It came out in 1996. So there's some old ones on here. But moving on here, we'll stick with Kevin Costner, Bull Durham. Gotta love that movie. About the Durham Bulls. Yeah, okay. Happy Gilmore is it's a funny movie. It's a golf movie, but this movie is like more like believable, Not somebody coming up and hitting 400-yard drives on every tee off. So, yes, that is a good movie. I love that sports movie. It's honestly one of my honorable mentions because I love Happy Gilmore. It's been one of my I've wanted to be Happy Gilmore for Halloween for a couple of times. But Tin Cup, I like Tin Cup. But moving on here, Bull Durham. Once again, Kevin Costner in this movie. Pretty good. It's about a minor league team, the Durham Bulls. Actually, they're from a real team from Durham, North Carolina. One of my dreams is to go and possibly call for the Durham Bulls. Not because of this movie. I like North Carolina. Minor leagues are huge out in the Carolinas. So, but this movie, great movie, came out in 1988. Go tune in that. I'll go quick on this one because I don't want to get reined in by comments here. Coming at number 5 is Hoosiers. Listen, I like it. It's a good movie. It came out in 1986. Gene Hackman, probably one of the best actors of all time. Yeah, boo boo. I like Hoosiers. Listen, I'm from a small school. I went to Badger. It's a small high school, and Hickory in this movie, that's a main school, is a small school, and they go all the way to state. It's a good underdog story. I like it. So, like you don't see small schools do that too much. Like small schools like that. Like talking like 30 kids in their graduating class. So I like that movie. Number 4, though, you'll like this one, Alec. I know you'll be commenting on this one. Number 4 is Moneyball. Moneyball. I just watched this last week. Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill is in it. Jonah Hill, known mostly for his comedic roles. This is actually one of his few, serious roles. I like this movie. Uh, you know, the Oakland A's are very. We've talked about this before. They don't have a lot of money. They're a small market team, and he used, I believe it was Bill James. He used, Brad Pitt played, Billy Bean, who was the GM of the Oakland A's, and they lost main guys like Richie or Giambi. Yeah, it's definitely one of the best put together sports movies of all time. I definitely agree with that. But they had Jason Giambi, they had Matthew Damon, Isringhausen was a heck of a player as well, and they all left, because of they don't have money, so they had to replace them with players, and the method was they had to get guys with best on base percentage. They had to get guys that could get on base and stuff like that. And a lot of people hated it because they're like, "What? Are you serious?" Like, you even watch the movie; it's very accurate, I believe. Like not a lot of people believed it would happen, and it didn't work at first, and then they worked some things out, and they ended up winning 20 games in a row, which was the record until the Cleveland Indians broke it with 22 games in a row. But at the time to do that, that's just unbelievable. And they did lose again in the division round. I believe it was to the Twins, I believe. But they spent less money than the New York Yankees did by far. And Billy Beane was offered to be the highest paid GM for the Boston Red Sox, but still stayed with Oakland. And the main thing with that story, I mean, he didn't care about any of that. He didn't care about championship or anything. He just wanted to win the last game of the season, and I guess he hasn't yet, or I don't know. But a heck of a movie. I really like it. But moving on here, what's moving to number 3? Alec will like this too. Glory Road. I mean, unbelievable movie. I mean, I watched that countless times. Story of it's UTEP. UTEP now, Texas Western. So I forget what they're called now. He would probably put up a comment here real soon. But heck of a movie. I mean, they're definitely an underdog team. Ended up beating Kentucky in the national championship. I mean, it kind of looked like this team honestly looked like the St. Peter's team we just saw make a huge run. Yes, they ended up losing. They didn't win a championship, but they made it into UTEP. They made it in. St. Peter's did make it into the Elite Eight, but I mean, UTEP defeating, I believe it was Kentucky. Kentucky had Jerry West on their team, so that's just something right there. Heck of a movie. If you haven't seen it, go out and watch it. It came out in 2006. It's a heck of a movie. Number 2, I just had to throw this on here. Y'all could probably guess. You've seen all my posters in my room. It's got to be Rocky. Rocky is the first one. I mean, the second one's good too. I like them all, but the first one, in my opinion, deserves to be on this list because it's where it all started. I mean, I can tell you stories about this, but I mean, probably one of the best underdog movies. I mean, it was a 1 in a million shot. That's what they said. Sylvester Stallone in this movie, it was his breaking out movie. They wanted to get a guy in there. Like, I think they had Burt Reynolds lined up for it, and he wouldn't sell them the the script if he wasn't starring in it. And this was Stallone's whole career based off Rocky and Rambo. But I mean, Rocky is where it started. There would be no Rambo and Stallone if there was no Rocky first. So this is what people really have to realize. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in Philly. I got that. That's the only reason why I wanted to go. I wanted to run up the steps. I did. I saw the statue. I had some Philly cheesesteaks and bounced out. But I mean, heck of a movie. Really enjoy it. I have all of them here. I have shirts, posters. Heck, I mean, I'll probably get more stuff too. Like this, like anybody knows me. Like Rocky is my favorite movie. But I just had to feel like, you know, it like if I put it at number one, it'd be too much of a given. Like, oh wow, yeah, it's his favorite movie. He's gonna put it at number one. But actually, number one I have is Miracle because I think that's actually based on a true story as well. Rocky is, it's fiction, so it's fake. So, but they did. I guess they based it on the Chuck Wepner versus Muhammad Ali fight, which was actually in the Richfield Coliseum. They based it off that. But yeah, I guess some honorable mention too. Yeah, those are a good one. Race was good. 42, I have that back here. And yeah, Jesse Owens with Race. Remember the Titans is definitely in there too. If this was top 15, if I was doing top 15, Remember the Titans would definitely be in there. Coach Carter's in there too. I love Coach Carter. These are my favorite. I like these movies more. Like, I'm not saying like these are the better than those movies, but I like them more in my opinion. But I mean, here are my honorable mentions. I have Creed in there. I have Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams, a heck of a movie. If you build it, he will come. So, funny story about this. Alec and I we had to go do a softball game last year at Field of Dreams in Boardman, and when we showed up, nobody was there. We didn't see anybody. We were the only ones there, and I'm like, maybe we just don't believe enough, and we can't see the players play. So it was pretty funny. But ended up being a mix-up or something like that. But that was definitely, yeah, yeah. But if you've never seen it, watch Invictus. That's a good one as well. But another one in here for the love of the game. This one, another Kevin Costner one. Old pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, and as he's pitching like one of his final games, he's going through. There's a lot of flashbacks in the movie. Like he's going through like what his career and his life, like what he's done good and stuff like that. Like his relationships and his seasons and stuff like that. But like if you pay, like if what he doesn't realize is he's thinking about all this stuff and he's pitching. He's actually pitching a perfect game. So like I don't think he realized that at first, but then later in the movie, he's like, "Did anybody get on base?" He's like, "No." So it's a pretty good movie. But we got about half an hour left in the show. Those are my honorable mentions. I did put Creed in there as well. Creed, a heck of a movie. Creed 3 is actually in production. It's coming out. But sad thing is, Sylvester Stallone will not be in it. So I don't know how I feel about that yet. But let's move on here. Here's my last top 10. And feel free to put in the comments if I get a chance to do shows like this again. I'll do it. Throw in top 10s that you think I should do. Whether it's like top 10, I don't know, top 10 anything. I can talk about anything on this show. If it's kicking it back, if I'm doing kicking it back with Matt, I can do anything. Top 10 MLB moments, top 10 MLB busts, like just MLB, I can do anything. So throw it in there. But let's go top 10 biggest busts in history. I combine NFL and NBA in here. So there's some ones in here that they're really bad. So number 10, I got Brian Bosworth. He was kicked out of Oklahoma because he was using steroids and never really lived up to his mouth. Plus I think he had like shoulder injuries. He was just a big mouth. Like if you watched a documentary, Brian and the Boss, pretty much his whole career was him being the boss. He was all Hollywood. He actually ended up doing a couple of movies too. I think one was called Stone Cold, and that one wasn't too bad. I mean, I think he had a pet lizard or something like that, and he was feeding it Skittles or something. I forget what it was, but he was. I mean, he only played 3 years, and he played for the Seattle Seahawks. One of the most things I can remember is, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be the one to shut down Bo Jackson," and Bo Jackson obviously ran him over on his way into the end zone. So I don't. I'll throw this in here. I think if he just wasn't a big mouth, if he wasn't in the media, if he wasn't doing any of that, and if he didn't use steroids, I think he probably could have been way better than he was. So I just had to throw that in there. Number 9, this one could very well be number 1, but I put it up here at number 9 just because I feel like the ones in front of them were, bigger busts. But Tony Manderich, probably considered one of the best offensive linemen in the 1989 draft. He was 6'6", 315 pounds. You can't get better than that for an offensive lineman. He's picked second overall as well. Troy Aikman was picked first. Barry Sanders was picked third. So, yeah, I mean, to be put in between those guys, he didn't really live up to the hype too much. Dion Sanders was picked in that draft as well. Manderich was cut just after 2 seasons. A lot of them, he couldn't really defend very much. Like, he couldn't block. So, like, defensive players got past him. And when you were in a league that had, I mean, a bunch of great defensive players, I mean, coming at you, like you can't really, like the NFL in the '90s was defense. So I mean, you can't really blame him. And I think he got hyped up way too much. So, but it happens. It happens. He got drafted by the Packers as well. I don't know if I put that in here, but that's number 9. Let's go ahead and move number 8. Man, this is gonna kill Alec here. Greg Oden, man. Now Greg Oden, he played for Ohio State. Had one of the best. I believe they lost in the championship when he was there. But heck of a player. The famous one, I think it was an Elite 8 or Final 4, where he had a huge buzzer beater block to advance them into the next round. But I think he probably would have been one of the greatest. But he just had countless knee surgeries. Right knee, left knee. It was more of his right knee, I believe. He was just held to 7 seasons in the NBA because of it, and there was huge gaps in between that too. And he was mostly played for the Blazers, but he actually jumped on with LeBron for the Miami Heat when they lost in the finals in 2014. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. He's definitely one of the biggest what ifs. Like if his knees were great, like he had the knees of an 80-year-old. Like if he had good knees, he'd probably still be playing. He could probably still be playing. He'd probably be retired or just recently retired. You could probably say that because he's 34 right now, and LeBron's 36. So this was probably one of the most saddest because I would have loved to see how good he could have played. Number 7, though, this one I could have put it up. What's that? Yeah, he also did go back and get his degree at Ohio State, so I like that as well. But next one here, number 7. I could have put this one up earlier, but he's at number 7. I didn't want to put him down anymore. Sam Bowie. Not a lot of people know who Sam Bowie is. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. It might be Bowie. But he didn't have the worst career. He played 10 productive seasons. But the main thing was here, he looked like a bust compared to all the other people picked in this draft. I mean, Hakeem Olajuwon was picked first. He was picked second. Michael Jordan was third. You had Charles Barkley in there at 5. John Stockton was in there at 16. Like, he did have a productive 10-year career, but compared to these other guys, he was a bust. I mean, Olajuwon won championships. Obviously, Michael is considered the greatest of all times. Barkley was in NBA Finals. Stockton was in NBA Finals. Like, these guys looked bad compared to Michael. But, I mean, Barkley and Stockton very well could have had NBA Finals if it wasn't for Michael. And, Hakeem Olajuwon only got NBA Finals because Michael was retired. So, he was retired that 1 year, and then that second year he wasn't himself yet. And then he returned to form when he was making, the Looney Tunes movie Space Jam. So after that, it was pretty much nothing. Nobody could stop him. But if he was picked a little bit more down, like if he was maybe early second round or end of the first round, I bet you he wouldn't have been a bust. But to be picked second overall and just have a productive career when you had all these other guys in the draft, I mean, yeah, I'd be calling him a bust too. But let's go ahead here. Let's move down to number 6. Now this one, T-John Carter. Yeah, I mean, a Rose Bowl game champion with Penn State. Heck of a college football running back. But, I mean, the guy barely had over 1,000 rushing yards in 10 years in the NFL. That's why I put him here. He tore his ACL, didn't really return to form after that. So it was pretty much injuries that caused it. And that's pretty much a couple of them on here are injuries. But T-John Carter, one of the most famous calls. Oh, what was his name? I forget. But the famous call was they thought they had him, then he was gone. I believe it was I forget who it was. Never mind. But I mean, heck of a college football running back, but just didn't live up, to the NFL. That's where you see a lot of players like this. I didn't put Achilles Smith on here, but he's definitely an honorable mention. Achilles Smith. I mean, probably could have been one of the best. Just, I mean, couldn't live up to it. Number 5, it's got to be Kwame Brown. This guy was bad. He was the first high school player to be selected first overall. He was I think he was worked for the Wizards too. I think he was basketball operations, something like that. But Kwame Brown, it's believed that like he played 12 years in the NBA, but he just didn't have that. He didn't have it. I believe Michael Jordan actually made him cry one time. So it wasn't the best. It wasn't the best. He got hyped up too much. First high school player, and picked first overall, and he just didn't live up to it. That's where most of these are. Manderich definitely didn't live up to the hype. Neither did Brown. So that's it. Number 5, Kwame Brown. Number 4. Let's see here. Adam Morrison played for Gonzaga. The only thing I really remember is when they lost, I believe it was UCLA. What's this? Well, yeah, Brown did. Yeah, I remember that. He rejected a 5-year contract, $30 million. And so, yeah. But Adam Morrison, number 4. This guy he was everything in college. He had that long hair. He was dropping 30 points every game in college. The NBA, no, it wasn't really the same story. He only played 4 years, averaged around 7.5 points, a couple of rebounds, and he just happened to be on the team with Kobe Bryant and won a couple of championships with the Lakers. So that's it. I mean, Adam Morrison, heck of a player for Gonzaga. I think, what was it? I think they played, what is it? Oh, whoops. But Adam Morrison, I mean, he was great in college. Like, I mean, another one you could throw in there, I mean, Christian Laettner, who was phenomenal at Duke, but didn't really live up to the hype in the NBA. But I didn't put him on this list because he was an NBA All-Star. So, and he played 13 years. So, but yeah, I mean, what is that? Yeah, I do remember that. 2007 CBB. Yep. But the 2006, I mean, they ended up losing to UCLA, and he was just crying. He was sobbing. It was a Sweet 16. UCLA ended up beating them, and I think the score was 73-71, and he was just crying. One of the UCLA players came up and said, "Come on, get up. It's all right," but it was horrible. I think that was his final game too. So I bet you that might have had a lot to do with it, though, right there. But let's move on here. Number 3, this guy was horrible. Demarcus Russell. He was really bad. He had turnovers, losses, and he just became fat too. He was lazy. I mean, what can you say about this guy? He was number 1 overall pick by the Raiders, and when they picked this guy, they missed out on. I mean, Calvin Johnson was in this draft. Adrian Peterson. They could even pick Joe Thomas and would have got away with it. Like, come on, man. He was just horrible. He didn't last very long, so he was just bad. So they gave him a $68 million contract too. And they still gave him money after he held out of the season too. So that's just the Raiders being dumb there as well. But let's go here. Number 2, Anthony Bennett. Man, this guy almost was number 1. Anthony Bennett was bad. He was hyped up. Cavs picked him. There wasn't much speculation who was going first. This guy was going to go first. They shocked the world when they picked him. In like 4 years, and I think he played for a couple more teams too. He was out of the league. Averaged like 4.4 points per game, 3.1 rebounds. He did get a championship though in the EuroLeague. So give him that. But let's move on here. Number 1, you could probably almost guess this one. Ryan Leaf. This guy was just bad. And a lot of people said that he was going to be better than Peyton Manning. And Peyton Manning became one of the best, one of the greatest of all time in football. He's definitely up there on that list. They thought he was going to be better because he had a bigger arm and stuff like that, and it just did not work out, at all. So, he even got into some legal trouble too, burglary, theft, drug charges. He's been arrested a bunch of times. I think he did spend time in prison as well. So that was pretty much after his NFL career, but he was just bad. Yeah, anything you could say about this guy, he was bad. He didn't last very long either. The guy went to Washington State. He was great in college. He had a heck of an arm, but he jumped around a bunch of teams. The main team was the Chargers, San Diego Chargers, and he threw interceptions. He turned it over. He was just one of the worst. So that's number one. Got about 10 minutes left. Oh, yeah, the biggest bust in my heart is Zion Williamson. Oh, yeah, definitely. But I was only putting this on players that were done and out of the league. So if Zion was out of the league, definitely would have been on this list. But he's still hanging on for a little bit. He's still hurt. I don't think there's a timetable for his return. I don't know about that. But right now he's just not looking too good. And as soon as he got drafted, I'm like, oh, he's going to be the biggest bust ever. And I'd get yelled at. A lot of people would be like, are you serious? Are you insane? Now they're all like, man, you might be right. But if you go look at old clips from the show a couple of years ago, we used to have signs that hanging up on walls saying Zion is a bust and stuff like that. Because, I thought he was a bust. He still is. I still believe he's a bust, but he's still hanging on. I mainly put this for players that were out of the league already. So, but that's going to be it for the top 10s. Let's talk about something else. I don't know. I'm sure Alec will comment something. Whatever you talk about, whatever you say in the next comment that comes up, I will talk about it. But I will. What we got here? Yeah, we are rooting for Zion to get better. I am rooting for him to get better, but right now he's just not. It's not doing it for me. So he's just not. But let's go back to the Tony Manderich. Tony Manderich. Yes, Troy Aikman, Barry Sanders, Dion Sanders as well was in this draft. But you also had Eric Metcalf, who was a standout for the Browns. Steve Atwater was in this draft. There's a lot of hype for him, and he just didn't live up to it. So it's sad, but it just happens sometimes. So, but worst sports movie ever made? Oh man, I don't know. That's definitely something right there. Okay, the Way Back. Alec and I went and saw the Way Back a couple of years ago with Ben Affleck in it. All right, I don't know. It's the first one that jumped to mind. It's not a bad movie, but we've seen the same story all the time. Old burnout coach comes and coaches old high school and they end up winning games and stuff like that. And he's an alcoholic still. Come on, man. I like Ben Affleck, but he goes from Batman to playing a bad Batman to, playing a drunken coach. That's probably one of the worst. There's a bunch on here too. But best athlete gone actor? Oh, there's tons of them. You have Terry Crews, who was in the He was in the Expendable movies. He played football. Shaq was in the Grown Up movies. Those are good movies. If you want to go wrestling, Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, Dwayne Johnson. Dave Bautista was a wrestler as well. He was in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Got those in there as well. I like that. But let's go back to worst sports movie ever made. How about that? Let's Google some things here. Let's look. Worst sports movies ever. Oh, here they all are. But, they put The Longest Yard in there. I like The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler in it. I do. But definitely one, Bench Warmers, was really bad. 3 guys playing against a bunch of kids for softball. But they put the replacements on here. It's one of the worst. Are you kidding me? I love the replacements. I almost put that on my list. I mean, it's Keanu Reeves. I mean, probably one of the best. How about this? Best sports names, best athlete names in movies. Shane Falco. Like, if I changed my name, it'd definitely be that. Like, if you change your name, it'd be Shane Falco. I mean, he went to in the movie, he went to Ohio State. You know, I mean, footsteps Falco from Ohio State. That's what they say. But I mean, that's just sweet. And then he goes and plays another. I mean, you know, Point Break. He's Johnny Utah, who I mean, yeah, he's an FBI agent, but he played college football at Ohio State. Like Johnny Utah, you know, Johnny Football. You know, the Washington Command. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The Commanders should have been the Sentinels. I would definitely go out. You can buy Shane Falco jerseys for like $30 on Amazon. I bet you those prices would be going up. But I still might buy one though. But I mean that's a great movie. But go. What else? What else did he say? I mean, athletes turn actors. Let's look into this. Obviously, Dwayne Johnson's good. I said Dave Bautista. Let's see, athletes. Terry Crews was good. Let's see. Oh yeah, I bet you. Yeah, I bet you would. I bet you would. I mean, Jim Brown was an actor too. You want to throw that in there? I mean, Michael Jordan did Space Jam. So, I mean, Carl Weathers was actually a football player for a little bit. Then he ended up playing, you know, Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies. So, got to throw that in there. So, I like that. But Terry Bradshaw was in some movies. So, even LeBron James was in some movies. Yeah, LeBron James. He was in that movie called Trainwreck about 2015. He was in that movie, played himself, and he was. I mean, he just won. Didn't he win like worst actor for Space Jam and the Academy Awards? So I don't know. How about this? Actors that could play athletes in movies. You just had the guy from Shazam playing Kurt Warner. I think he looks like him a lot. But how about this? Will Smith could definitely play LeBron James in a movie. Like, he could definitely do that. Yeah, right? Will Smith could definitely play LeBron James. He would. He could. It'd be something. I mean, that'd be something. He might win an Oscar. I don't know. He just won an Oscar after, I find that funny too. Like he slaps Chris Rock, and then 20 minutes later, he wins an Oscar. Like that's sweet. Yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh, watch him take it away because he slapped Chris Rock." I mean, let's just put it this way: Chris Rock is never going to win something like that, and he just had to make. I mean, obviously he didn't write the jokes, but I mean, he had to make, you know, while he was up there. That's the only time he's gonna be on that stage. Or he had to make something relevant out of it. So, yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, Kevin Hart playing Michael Jordan. I don't know, man. What that in a comedy? All right, maybe in a comedy. Like, I bet it'd be like Michael Jordan waking up from a night. Michael Jordan is sleeping and he's having a nightmare, and in the nightmare he wakes up and he's Kevin Hart. He's as short as Kevin Hart. He's as fast as Kevin Hart. Like it would be a nightmare. That would be the basis of the movie, or that. But that would be a good basis of the movie. Like Michael Jordan being a nightmare, and in the nightmare he's Kevin Hart. Like that would be the movie. But I only got 5 minutes left here. That'll wrap it up here for the Kicking It Back with Matt version. We'll be back to the regular version of Casual Sports Report tomorrow. Thanks for everybody tuning in for this wild day. Thanks for sticking with me if you did. But we'll see you all tomorrow on the Casual Sports Podcast. And also be sure to tune in to Power Hour next on YSN Live. We'll see you all later.